Welcome, everybody, to the SEO Vault. My name is Mike, your host. I'm here with Nate today. This is episode 207. Remember, you can find us on all your favorite podcasting channels. Go ahead, follow us, catch up on all the previous episodes. We right now are on Facebook, in the Facebook groups, Apple, again, any of your podcast channels. I'm here today with Nate. Today, we're going to be talking about AI, some awesome AI tools, innovations. Nate's going to be talking about some awesome things he's been working on. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Nate, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, Mike. How are you doing, man?
Beautiful. For anyone who doesn't know Nate, you've been on the Vault before, right? And
I was just gonna ask you, I believe I have at least once, probably 2 years ago now at this point.
wow, yeah, that was a while ago. For some reason, I thought you were on sometime recently, but you're around a lot. That people see you obviously with Mark a lot. You
I
guys
am
are buddies, so
I'm lurking, Mike.
you're the lurker, yes. So yeah, thanks for coming on. We got obviously some awesome stuff to talk about. I'm gonna just jump right into it because you were already talking about it before we got on. Specifically AI, and we were talking about kind of customers or well, your general business is using AI and implementing it kind of in their business, and kind of how there's this really big disconnect right now between ability and functionality and true use case where like a local roofer could use AI for support or whatever that means. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting. You want to talk a little more about some of those bigger issues that you're seeing right now?
Yeah, definitely. So, obviously, my background is in software development. I'm here with Local Viking and Local Brand Manager and Repco, and just kind of deep in the software world. So, as OpenAI came out, that was of extreme interest for me and something that I've been basically spending 10 plus hours a day draped in. So a very real thing has emerged where, number one, I think everybody got super excited about the invention of this new large language model technology. We all really rushed to it. And then as it started to get deployed and as it's being deployed into small businesses and into soon the enterprise more and more, I think some of the novelty aspects of it have immediately become noticeable. So there's obviously the world of content generation. What I have really zeroed in on in the last 6+ months is leveraging OpenAI as and the AI model as a kind of customer support lead qualification chatbot. So we've seen honestly probably 10 new turn your website into a chatbot in 2 minutes products come out every single day for the last 6 months at this point, and they seem to be reaching terminal velocity where there's going to be 100 of these a day. So really the beginning of this was me starting to use some of these tools. I think I even share an account with you on one of the platforms that you purchased, where it's like this immediate level of being impressed with OpenAI and the technology. But then as you get deeper, you immediately realize that, hey, you shouldn't be putting these crazy chatbots onto your own clients' websites that are roofers and plumbers and electricians. And like, these bots are crazy. They say crazy things. And I think a good example of that is we have a client, or we have a bunch of clients, but one client in particular has already deployed one of these AI chatbots. And in the early days of me being interested, I just went in there and I was conversating with the chatbot, and I was like, hey, you're a plumber in a North American major metro. I'm in Mexico for the weekend. Can you send some guys down and fix my toilet? I just clogged it. And sure enough, the chatbot happily scheduled an appointment to send their team down to literally Mexico City without notifying the business, I assume. So very quickly I realized that, okay, the technology is amazing, but everybody's moving at the speed of light and nobody's actually sitting back and thinking if the things are done properly to actually have this technology deployable in the small business environment.
Yeah, I mean, even early on, and I still have some that I use for just kind of making my own conversational bots, like you said, internally, but like the idea of using something straight like ChatGPT, there's a lot of softwares that just allow you to send like a prompt with your input so that you essentially create a chatbot, but it's not really um it's just referencing the API with whatever predefined prompt that you had. And once you try and do that with any type of integrated just scheduling or anything system with just that layer, that definitely doesn't work. You find really quickly. And literally because you're just building on top of the API, which if anyone has used ChatGPT knows that you can use like prompts like Dan and get it to do literally anything or talk and do anything you want outside of what you tell it to do or don't tell it to do initially. So there's just a lot of issues there. But one of the big things that I've seen, which I also wanted to ask you about, because now that we've seen more of these kind of chatbots come out and they're integrating with databases and things like that, and I've played with a few of them. I think the biggest issue I've seen currently is kind of the way data is maybe queried and pulled from the database to submit to create answers and things. And so I was wondering if you maybe know more about what's going on there. And
I definitely do. And so this is, as a software engineer, this has been quite an interesting experience because I'm not a data scientist, but OpenAI kind of opened up this bridge into deep data science over a very simple API in the form of their embeddings API, which is essentially the topic that you're talking about right now, which is how do you take written content, whether it's on a web page, whether it's in a PDF, just free form text, how do you turn that into knowledge that your bot is trained on? And I think there's a ton of misconceptions there from from every angle, really. There's some really horrible implementations from the technical side with the solutions that are out in the market. And that is something that I have personally spent probably 250 hours on alone this year. So this world of content vectorization and using the embeddings API is extremely nuanced, and it is something that basically everybody's getting wrong. And I think what I'm going to show a little bit today is on the right path of how to do it. So you really have two problems when we're thinking about this. And one problem is the actual vectorization of your content, or taking written content, vectorizing it, putting into a vector database. So that has a lot to do with how you semantically parse content and how you
can you
create
say
these
what a
chunks.
vector what's a vector database for us people that
So
don't speak the language?
to put it very simply, um, in the world of software, just really in the world of math, imagine a large list of decimal numbers, like thousands of them or 2,000 of them. So really, a vector is taking natural language and written language and translating it into this long list of long numbers, long decimal point numbers, essentially. So what happens is, if I have documents, let's say I have a website that's about different breeds of dogs. So I have a page about golden retrievers, and I have a page about pit bulls, and I have a page about Dobermans, and I'm vectorizing that content. I'm basically scraping it, taking the written content, giving it to OpenAI and say, hey, for this content I'm giving you, give me back a large list of numbers. And you store that list of numbers in your vector database. That's the vector. Then in the future, you have a user come in and says, hey, how long does a golden retriever live on average? You then take that question you do the same thing with it and you vectorize it, which gives you a list of numbers back. And then in this world of vector databases, there are some API calls that you can make that says, hey, for this vectorized question, how long do golden retrievers live? Return me the most relevant documents from a vector search. And so it's this magical thing that happens where the vector math somehow knows, okay, all these words about a golden retriever creates these numbers, and then this question about how long a golden retriever lives has numbers that are similar to the vector of the original content, and then you pull out that content based off of its relevance score. So the first document would be your golden retriever document. The next document might be your Doberman document, and then the next one could be like, I don't know, so a Labrador document. So it's this very interesting world of turning words into numbers and making API requests to find numbers that are like each other, essentially.
And that's for my, I'm not a technical person, which is why I asked for the explanation there, but that's similar to what Google does as a search engine, right? When they parse out content and do whatever they do on that back end. I've read some documents, seen some lists of numbers specifically. I remember being a part of
Yes,
technical
it's this
side.
super hard 3D space vector math that takes words into numbers. And yeah, I won't pretend that I'm even remotely smart enough to be commenting on the actual data science and the foundation here, but I'm definitely very comfortable with using the tools that much smarter people have built for us.
But this
But
is
yeah, I
why it's a
definitely think that's
difficult.
Bert.
That's why it's a difficult process. Like this is something that Google has done. Like it has made an industry out of like taking data and figuring out how to reference it effectively. And that's essentially what we're talking about here. And people are trying to do that now on top of OpenAI. And it's clearly a very important aspect to that, correct?
It's the most important aspect.
Oh,
And
okay.
so like on one axis, you have the problem of how do you semantically cut up your content to vectorize it? Because let's say you have an article about golden retrievers. Well, that article could be 5,000 words long. And on the other axis of the problem set is that you have this limited amount of context that you can work with at any given moment. So if you have a 5,000 long word article, well, you need to intelligently chop that up and vectorize it such that when you're requesting the articles back, you're actually getting the logical pieces of that article that are going to answer the exact question. So to go back to that golden retriever example, let's say we have a 5,000 word page about golden retrievers. Maybe the first paragraph is about golden retriever diets, and maybe the next paragraph is about exercise for golden retrievers. And so you have this big page. And then when you want to actually query it, you need to make sure that if someone says, hey, how long is the average lifespan of a golden retriever? That out of those chunks from the golden retriever page, that you're actually pulling out the right section of that page. So you have this kind of dual axes problem where you need to properly semantically chunk your content, but then you also need to worry about the context size, and you need to be making sure that you're pulling the most relevant chunks out of those documents. So to say the least, it's a very deep problem, and I immediately noticed that the other competitors that are coming out in the market spent about 30 seconds solving the problem in the most elementary and naive way possible, where they just hard coded, take 200 words at a time and put that up into the vector. So
Oh.
I don't want to give away all of the keys to the castle here, but that right there is just an inappropriate way to have a professional product out in the market. And I think one of the biggest chatbot, like build your own chatbot off of your data, that became the most famous and had a nice AppSumo launch. They do exactly that, and it becomes extremely unimpressive within 10 minutes of using it, if not even before that. So amongst many problems, vectorization is a hard one, and I hope that that description of what's going on was clear enough in layman's terms. At times I'm sitting here for maybe I'll have a 12-hour day and be like, what is going on? This is insane.
Well, it makes perfect sense. I think the company you're specifically referencing, and I've used quite a few, but I still found the same issue. I found they worked much better when you gave it much less information. And also more importantly, less documents. Like it would be better to give it
Mm-hmm.
one giant document than like 10 different documents or 10 different web pages or something like that. Like one web page with 5,000 words versus five web pages with 1,000 words each. So that explains a lot about why it had those issues.
Yep, that is the exact reason why. And it's not just them, it's literally 10 platforms that I tested have the exact same problem. And I realized the problem is because you need to spend
Whoop,
200
did I
plus
lose
hours
you?
digging into the solution. And most people aren't going to do that.
Yeah. What, so you actually you had something you can kind of show as an example
Yeah.
um
So
with this
I
working.
want to do a
I
quick
guess you say.
screen share. Now, I don't want to turn it into a product demo here. So
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to just give us a quick little tour, but what I'm gonna pop up and let you know when you see it, Mike.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so this is the interface. Now, this is what we are calling Lindabot, and to just quickly hop into some of the things that other AI chatbots don't do effectively or at all, in my opinion, and what ruins them from being able to actually be deployed into the real world is several things. So number one is you need the AI to be able to hand a conversation over to a human. You need the AI to probably be able to schedule appointments. Ideally, in a perfect world, your AI chatbot could create conference calls from natural language when a customer expresses that they'd rather talk to someone on the phone. So, all of those things are what we've built out in here. We have a very complex system mapping intents that users would like to do to actual actions that happen with the bot. So, a real quick example of this is one of the major things that the bot does is it allows you to dynamically qualify every lead. So you can put a website widget up, have a chat widget, and then you can come through here and say, okay, and this is built out for a local marketing platform here. And you could say, I want the bot to every conversation ask the customer, the lead, if they have any current marketing software. And you can see I've just kind of defined the name of the variable and given it a plain natural language description. I probably want to know their monthly budget. I want to know if they're using a reputation management platform. Are they interested in an AI chatbot? And so you can literally just come in here and for any business, you can say, what are the qualifiers that I want my bot to ask from any conversation? And that is something that then gets mapped into the conversational aspect of the bot itself. So that is maybe not the best justice to one of the fancier things that I've ever developed in my life. On the other side, we have appointment scheduling. So you can hook in Google Calendars, and the bot, through natural language, will negotiate calendar appointments with any of your leads. And really, you can zero in on a lot of the common questions that a business is going to be asked. What are their pricing? What are their service areas? What are their products and services? Do they have any discounts? What time are they open? Are they open on Saturday? All of these things I have spent thousands of hours building a lot of infrastructure around the intent classification of every message, the miniature goal seeking of each of these branches as the bot detects that, hey, the user wants to talk with somebody. Okay, now figure out, does the user want to talk to somebody via text, and do they want to chat with somebody, or do they want to generate a phone call? So really all of these features that I think the chatbot world needs, and that really there's only one company that I'm not going to name right now that seems to be on the right path. everybody else is doing it completely wrong. So we have this very advanced world of mapping user intents to bot actions that I've spent thousands of hours engineering this year. And it's got a bunch of other bells and whistles here. It auto summarizes every conversation. It will auto score the conversation based off of the friction that the customer experiences with the AI. It can webhook any of your extracted data. So as you have a conversation, it'll pull out all of those elements that you asked it to, and it'll webhook that to any system. You can hop in, you have a native mobile app where the bot can actually hand over a conversation to you. We have some analytics built in.
So you've
The
really built
concept of
it to,
workflows.
you've built it for use case, really. Like, I think the most common thing I've seen is the ability to like query information and use it to answer questions and then capture lead information. That's generally but you've kind of not just looked at it as like what is the big picture. And I have seen a couple actually that have done, I think, some calendar stuff and things like that. They haven't done it too
Yep.
well. Um, but there's I think still there's so much more to this. Like you said, the lead qualification tied into the appointment setting. Um, and that's, I think if anyone is watching this in general, when you're buying AI tools, that's probably the number one thing I've noticed is there's so much like shiny object stuff out there that even ChatGPT, the only use case I really see right now for ChatGPT, well, okay, for just the like GPT-4 with maybe like the Vox plugin where you could use a URL is just literally for like data research and content writing and stuff. Like that's pretty much it. And even at that level, it's kind of automated in aspect, but you still need a whole nother side to that. Like when you buy a new software, you'll generally find that, oh, this is going to help me so much, but now you have like 20 new things you need to implement in your company and your business to kind of fill the other gaps that this doesn't do. And you're really, that's what AI probably should do, is fill all the gaps intelligently, kind of.
So, yeah, so I think, and I'm super excited for the next 6 months, year here, as we're seeing this insane level of innovation in the AI space. But really, what we have is this gift, probably originally from Google when they wrote the Transformer paper, and then secondarily from the billionaires that funded OpenAI, and then from the capitalists within OpenAI who decided to turn it from a nonprofit to a for-profit. So what we really have is this general foundation of AI technology, and it is super powerful, but they built it generalized. And now we're coming in and seeing people plugging in the general powers into a particular use case. And that's where I've spent a ton of time, like wrapping the OpenAI API into an application that can communicate with calendars, that can communicate with other third-party systems, and then kind of seamlessly injecting that data back into their next API calls. And so it's this world of really taking the general tech that OpenAI has gifted us and plugging in real world use cases. And I mean, like the early days, we've seen a lot of novelty, but there definitely are some builders that are extremely competent, that are coming with funding, that are going to be doing very exciting things. I know there's a company I saw raise like 50 million in the legal space to do legal AI. It's an
Saw a
exciting
company
world, but we're definitely general.
saw a company raise 125 million. But
I think I
yeah,
know who you're talking about. Yep.
but yeah, definitely other exciting things coming down the line, for sure, real use case. But I do think it's interesting though, because AI, even at its core, what we're talking about is not really AI. It's not. It's the functionality of being able to take in this data and intelligently outputting like a human would, essentially, based on its understanding of language and that association. And I'm not, again, the technical, but
It
it's
feels like AI, but it according to what they say, it's not. It's just a fancy word predictor.
But
It feels like AI though.
what is a brain but a fancy word interpreter and predictor and language
That's very
understander?
true.
So,
It's
you know,
very
there's
true.
it's but the point is though is if you just imagine that AI is a person, if you just take any person and you give them a prompt, do this action, if you go to someone and you say send an email for me to this person, if you go to ChatGPT, they'll be like, I don't know where your email is. I don't know like who's this like they need more detail and they need more functionality to do that, and that's really what we're seeing with AI is you can't just give it these things. You can get a baseline functionality based on its capabilities, and honestly AI is, or the AIs out there are better writers than I am in most cases. I'm not that great of a writer, so that functionality was very easy to really see as a use case. But when it comes to saying, well, go like if we put someone in for support, say at Web 20 Ranker, we can't just say go answer questions. Here's our website, and they just like they know where to go and find the info. Like if you say someone says what's the turnaround time on a guest post, they'll say, well, is that a niche edit? Is that a premium guest post, a standard guest post? They won't even know where to go find those things on the site. And that's really all the things that we're kind of seeing, like you said, skilled developers now create in a way that's the missing piece and might actually be what AI really is, right? This kind of combination of these querying and storing of data and referencing, and so
Yeah, it's definitely, you need the whole apparatus, and as I've learned, to build the whole apparatus, you have to really neglect your relationships and focus all of your time on working with the OpenAI API.
well, that's why there is billions of dollars probably getting spent on it right now. So, um,
There is, it's exciting. I actually was just at an AI fireside chat, if there's anything more San Francisco that I could have possibly done. A little bit of a boring actual chat, but the questions on the back end, I think like the head of Accenture AI stood up and asked a very interesting question, and then the head of LinkedIn AI, who's actually working on detecting GPT content, which I'm assuming is either sales posts, people spamming LinkedIn through sales reach outs, or potentially they're targeting LinkedIn influencers who are making those really long LinkedIn viral posts with Chat GPT. But it's just it's an interesting space, and it's interesting to see like the largest companies with the hugest payrolls and billions of dollars of budget are at really the same level as me, with a couple dozen engineers and all of my free time here looking at the OpenAI docs. So I'm very interested with the kind of level playing field that it feels like it's at right now. Now I'm sure that's going to disappear in the next 12 months at least, but for right now, it feels good where we're all kind of discovering this tech together.
that's yeah. I mean, it is just new technology. That's the same thing that a lot of like blockchain, enthusiasts talk about blockchain. AI obviously is going to have a way bigger impact way sooner in so many other ways. And there's no way I think anyone can argue that. But uh, but yeah, it does kind of level the playing field even for your average non-developer. I've been able to like do things in like, with some JavaScript or some Google Sheets and various tools that I've never been able to create that functionality to make my life easier doing things at my own job or whatever that is. So it levels it for everyone on many levels, you know.
Oh yeah, the ability. I saw a funny. I don't know if it was a tweet or something, but somebody posted that the hottest programming language of 2023 is the English language, and it is wildly impressive how you can engineer with Chat GPT and GPT-4. It's like having 20 years of software experience. I literally feel like I have 10 times my efficiency with my little AI sidekick. I have tons of friends that sometimes in like an annoying way, hey, you just spent 20 years of your life for no reason. Look at me creating an application on ChatGPT in an hour. It is wild how it's going to level the playing field and access to the ability to write software and to understand software and to really level up as a developer. And not only software, but I think every industry, like the AI is so powerful. So many times as I'm working with it, I'm like, wow, it feels like it's not just predicting the next sequence of characters. It feels like it's actually talking to me.
Passing the Turing test.
It definitely is.
I mean, the problem is I've had conversations with people that felt more robotic at times than my conversations with AI, which is like, so
Definitely.
you're almost less NPC than other people I've come in contact with.
It's the so I've through my testing of Lindabot, what I've been building. Obviously, I'm usually thinking of it in the context of a kind of either a salesy context where the bot is operating as a salesperson for the business. And so a lot of times as I'm testing it, I'll throw it like hard questions or things that would be objections to salespeople or would be awkward for a human to answer. And the ability of GPT-4 mostly to gracefully handle those situations in a way that I don't think many humans are going to is wildly impressive. Like, it's professional, it's courteous, it's everything you would want out of a customer support agent, essentially.
Yeah, it it is really good. It just needs to be properly trained and given the proper materials, it sounds like. So that's awesome. Well,
100%.
yeah, I think we could bring this episode to an end. We're getting close to the end here, so it's definitely
Yeah, man, I think if people will probably have a URL at the time that this is published underneath where friends and agencies that know us and are in our ecosystem can hop on. We're primarily building this direct for the market, but we're definitely going to do a week or so of opening the platform so anybody that knows this can hop in and get as many instances of AI agents as they're going to want for their client work, essentially.
awesome. Sounds good. Well, thanks so much, Nate, for coming on, talking some AI with me. This is again the SEO Vault episode 207. Again, check us out on all your favorite podcasting stations. Watch all the previous episodes, and we will see you next Wednesday. Thanks a lot, Nate.
Thank you, Mike.
Bye.
Later.
Okay.